our meeting started. Those that join us late can catch up and join us when they're available. So um, I would like to call this meeting to order. The Commission on Equitable Housing and Development meeting has now commenced. It is March 12th at 4:03 p.m. This is a virtual meeting. We ask that you mute yourselves until called upon to speak to avoid feedback and background noise. For those who have dialed using the call-in number, to unmute to speak, dial *6 on your phone. And please only use the chat function to request to speak. Also, to comply with the state open meeting law, attendance and votes will be done by way of roll call using audio. And with that, I will do the roll call. Maggie Amato-Tellez,
Present.
Mindy Bernstein,
Present.
Vicky Casino. I know that she was not feeling well and I don't see her. Logan Havens. I don't see Logan either. Serena Warake. Did she join us yet? No. Lori Mazurbo.
Present.
Ann Miskey.
Present.
Robert Ojeda.
Present.
Tisha Tallman.
Here.
Alan Salat.
Here.
Jim Toffel. I did not see Jim on today.
No, he's not. He went to see the Wildcats.
Kenny Wong. He doesn't look like Kenny's here. And then Jay Young, that is me, and I am here. Do I need to call out the ex officio members?
Sure, why not for funsies?
All right. Ann Chineka.
Here.
Corin Manning. I did not see Corin. Marcos Ismail. Did not see Marcos. And Michael Edmonds.
Let me check. Yes, here.
Hey, Mike. Okay. The next thing we need to do is approve the February minutes. So did anyone have any edits or issues with the February minutes that need to be addressed? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the February minutes.
I second that.
Move.
No,
Uh,
I make a motion to approve February's minutes.
Thank you. Mindy has moved to approve the February minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Anne?
Thanks, Anne. We have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? All right, the February meeting minutes are approved. So just real quick today, we're going to do our normal stuff, call to the audience, city and county updates. And then you'll see that the bulk of our meeting today is talking about what we want to do this year as a commission. So we've got an hour set aside for that. And then I think that'll lead in pretty well to the next item on the agenda, which is what we want to do with our subcommittees. And then a couple more things, Fair Housing Month, and then next steps, and then we will adjourn. So without further ado, I would like to call to the audience. The call to the audience is limited to 3 minutes per speaker and a total of 10 minutes. All speakers must share their name to be recorded in the meeting minutes. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak?
No hands are being raised.
I ask again, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak? If not, we will move on, but I just want to give few more seconds if anybody would like to speak. Okay, hearing no one in the audience that would like to speak, we can move on to city and county updates. So we'd love to get some updates starting with HCD.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. some updates on our end. One, we just wrapped up 2 weeks of a whole lot of public meetings. So we had a public meeting for 3 of our development projects. One was the Maine and Davis project. One was South 10th. We had a good community meeting where the co-developers who are finalists presented their draft proposals. Thanks to, I know a few of you attended. Thank you for that. And then Stone and Speedway, another project we're working on. So those 3 development projects. Yesterday, we had a lightly attended meeting on our Amphi Station 8 shelter project. So wrapping up a couple busy weeks of that. Thank you. A few of you came out to the Tucson House groundbreaking this past week. Pretty exciting. We're in month 2 of a 30-month construction project. But that is moving along, and it was a nice celebration to celebrate the milestone that we are at now. A couple updates on some prior work of the commission, and Kat, feel free to jump in here, but you all had approved the Housing Trust Fund monies, your recommendation. One of the pieces was for emergency rental assistance. And so HCD is gearing up to launch that. And Kat, did you want to mention anything on that?
Yeah, just thank you again for that funding. We are working right now to send out a quick training. We've created a very short training for case managers and folks to take so they know how to access the money. We're going to send that out today, give folks a week, and then we will launch that next Thursday. And that money will be made available to the community. So it'll be pretty much on a first come, first served basis. So we will process those requests as they come in. And yeah, we'll go from there. So excited to see how that rolls out.
Thanks, Kat.
Yeah, thank you guys.
One other update, we talked last time about how mayor and council declared an emergency housing and homelessness emergency. And as part of that, they have requested a process by which the city would approve permits for safe outdoor spaces, such as Star Village, a space such as that, or safe parking sites, which would be geared towards unhoused folks who have vehicles. And so Housing and Community Development worked with many different partners at the city to develop draft site guidelines by which the city would look to see if you can meet these things, we would approve the permit. It is in draft form now. Intentionally really want to get feedback from community members and others who potentially would be interested in setting up a safe outdoor or a safe parking site. So if anyone's interested in reviewing those site guidelines, please let me know. I've sent them out to a few community partners, but happy to share that. And we're taking feedback at this time before we take it to mayor and council to finalize. And then last thing I have on my list is the commission has 2 vacancies currently. And so if you know of folks who might be interested in sitting on the commission, please let us know. And yeah, if there is any questions for HCD or HCD, if I forgot anything, feel free to jump in.
I just threw this in the chat, Anne, but are the safe sleeping site policies, is that for public feedback?
Right
Okay.
now it's draft.
Yeah.
Not been approved, but it is, we will take feedback at any point.
Okay, and should we just email that to you, or is there a specific procedure for that? Because there are some TPCH folks who are interested in seeing it and providing feedback.
They can email me.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Anne? I have a few questions, Anne. I was just wondering, at the public meetings that y'all hosted, I know they were for different projects, but what was the tenor at those meetings? And are there any themes that you're hearing that are different from kind of what people have been talking about over the past, year or three?
Good question. I would say, and HCD folks, feel free to jump in here too, but I have seen one, I think HCD has learned a lot the past couple of years in terms of engagement around our development projects. And I think I'm really encouraged in terms of the response we've been getting. And I think we've done a better job, of sort of helping to explain where we're at and what we need in terms of feedback. So, for instance, the Stone and Speedway site, which is a super cool design, slightly biased, but this is a 120 unit transit oriented development project that we're working on 2 phases of this project. It is an urban infill, hard to pull off. We still have some gaps on both phases we're trying to work through, and there's a lot of complexities with the project. Anyway, from when we first started engaging the neighborhood and community on this project to our last meeting, we saw a lot of folks after providing feedback that was good feedback that we were able to incorporate into the design. I really did see a positive response. And I would say that's the case for all of the projects. Felt a little more positive this round in terms of feedback. And there's still some who are concerned either about affordable housing or city involvement, given the city's track record with harming certain communities. And so there's still some work to go in terms of building trust, but I have seen this round was pretty encouraging overall.
What Anne failed to mention, at the Speedway and Stone meeting, HCD and the architect received a round of applause. The round of applause was for the fact that the architect PMM and HCD, El Pueblo Housing Development, has responded to the concerns of design at Stone and Speedway and came up with as Ann mentioned, beautiful design, and people clapped. So that's positive.
It's great to hear. And then my last question is,
Could I ask Ann a question before you go
Yeah.
past it? You said
Yeah,
the Speedway Stone development was transit oriented. Can you define what that means?
Yeah, and that was a question at the meeting, which I thought was a very good meeting. So to me, I mean, we know that Stone Avenue is today, and Stone Avenue and Speedway both are regular transit corridors, both on the frequent transit route network. And then Stone in the future is currently being planned for a bus rapid transit line. So even faster, more dedicated transit. So given that we have less parking than we have units in the design, really thinking about balancing the parking needs of the building, and also recognizing that it is a location that is near to downtown, near to the University of Arizona, across the street from Pima Community College. The design itself is really intended to feel like an urban infill with a walkable environment around it. It is an affordable housing project, but 20% of the units will be market rate, and that is a requirement of one of the funding sources that we have. We are building space for a retail, commercial, and or community use. We're trying really hard. We have a vision that we want to try to make happen of having there be a market cafe that is affordable to the residents that live there. And working diligently on that. But at the very least, there is room in the design for a community space or retail space, depending on how that unfolds. And then it is the way in which it is phased and designed. It is designed to step down towards the neighborhood. So the side that is right across the street from single family homes, it's designed to be this 2-story townhome feel that's really cool. Happy in a future meeting to walk through designs for these, as at least I know I love dorking out about that.
Is the design available to see on the internet?
Let me check to see if it's up yet. It will be, because
Okay.
how busy the last couple weeks are, we may not have gotten it up, but we always put our presentations up on the EPHD website after we do them. It just might take us a week or two sometimes.
Mindy?
Thank you, Jay. I would, the cafe idea in the residential space could become an cats are so hedonistic, I'm telling you. Sorry. The having built Cafe 54 and the involvement of trainees or people that are regaining their footing, the cafe, I would love for there to be some entertainment of the idea of the residents being involved in running the cafe. And I'm available for any consultation on how to make that happen.
Thank you. And Mindy, we are in conversations for a setup like that. I don't know if it's going to work, but that is sort of the vision we're trying to throw out into the universe.
Hey, I'll try to catch it and hold it for you.
Any other questions on this piece? If not, my other question was about the permits for outdoor spaces and kind of how that's developing. I just was wondering how much the experience of Star Village and kind of the rules around that are informing that project going forward.
Yeah, it was huge, I would say. And in terms of thinking to us about trying to balance if the city's permitting it, we have to be mindful of a certain degree of liability and security for the clients who are at the safe outdoor site and also the neighborhood. So to me, it's been a game of balancing safety and security, but also recognizing the more we add in terms of requirements, the less likely nonprofits or faith-based groups will be able to do this. And the alternative is there's more people sleeping outside without any protections. And so it's been an interesting balancing game. And I think we are striving for meeting that balance, but that's why I'm offering to send it to anyone who wants to weigh in and open to ideas if folks think that it is too difficult to set up. And Tisha, I really appreciate, has been showed me around Star Village. That was informative. And Tisha is amongst a group of nonprofits who do have a draft copy now.
That's great. I'm really happy to hear that. And the press that I've read about Star Village has been good overall, which I think is a testament to Tisha's work and the partners that she's working with. But I think it just also has to show these projects generally when they're run well. Initially there's a pushback, and then a few months later people are like, "Oh yeah, it's great, no problem." So I'm really glad to hear that's moving forward, because I think it's really important. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Anne before we move on to PDSD updates? All right, PDSD, you are up. Is that Sophia or?
No, I don't see anyone from PDSD. That would be
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Or
yeah, no one's in for PDSD. Commissioners, you did receive PDSD updates um, in a separate email.
Got it. Well, since they're not here, I guess we'll just move on. Um, is there anybody, any Pima County updates?
Dan Sullivan's here.
Yeah, Dan's here and I'm
And
here.
Sophia.
I I guess just the really quick update from me is that I think I sent this information out to you all already, but I did want to talk a little bit about what we've been up to. Our 10-year housing strategy and funding plan was adopted by the Board of Supervisors last week on Tuesday. That's been like a little over a year of a lot of different collaborations and hard work on a lot of different people's parts. And want to say we appreciate the City Commission for your involvement and participation in that, and city staff as well. Then we had our just a quick update on our Keeping People Housed funds. If you'll remember back in the beginning of this fiscal year, we got $3.5 million allocated for the purpose of keeping people housed. Our home repair program has reported to me that they have spent $271,000 and helped 15 households with home repair so that they can stay in their homes. There have been $50,000 each for Pasquayaki and for Tohono O'odham Nation for their respective home repair programs. And then with our we have rent, mortgage, and utility assistance funds that have served 620 unduplicated households, and we've gotten almost $1.5 million out the door on that. So, and that wasn't originally 200 or 2 million that we started with for that one. And then we did get this Garcia Family Foundation grant, and I wanted to see if Dan would be able to share just a little bit about that. I know I sent the memo from Jan Lesher out to the commission, but hopefully like just a really quick update from Dan.
Sure. Thanks, Sophia. Yeah, we're really happy to get this grant award from the Garcia Family Foundation, and a big thank you to Ciro and to Jen Darlin and Sophia and Terry, everybody, and Andy who worked on it. It's been a concept, in the making for a long time, but also a proven concept. Bringing together the lessons learned from the pandemic and from the emergency rental assistance ages or age, if we put them all together, of just having one place for rent utility assistance, so people can call multiple places for services. So it is intended to bring back that capacity that we had. It's a 2-year grant, and it's also, there is a component from being funded to Zero to study the program to see what sort of effectiveness it has. But again, it's stuff that we've done as a community, and just really looking forward to getting it going, having that resource there, and then visioning where it could go next. How it could be a resource for those who are street homeless, those who are seeking employment opportunities. A full resource hotline. So. Yeah, well, stay tuned for it. We just got the grant agreement, and we're going to do our best to get it up and going as soon as possible.
Great. Thanks, Sophia and Dan. Is there anything else from Pima County at this point? Is that it?
That's
Great.
it.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any questions? Comments? All right. Seeing none, I believe we can move on to our next agenda item, which is discussing our scope for the year, or I guess really kind of as far out as we want. But obviously last year we focused on homelessness. We got recommendations to mayor and council. We are still working on scheduling meetings with, I believe, the mayor's office and potentially some of the city council offices as well. stay tuned for that. But that is ongoing. So, we basically wrapped that up. And so the idea here is to have a conversation to think about what we want to do going forward. And so what I thought, just to kind of keep it simple, is maybe we could start with some brainstorming. So just tossing some ideas out. And then I figured once we got some ideas on the table, we could start to discuss what ideas are resonating with folks and maybe what we want to work on going forward. We also don't necessarily need to come up with something this meeting if we need to think about it some more and we want to come back together, or obviously we could discuss the ideas in our committees as well if we want to do that depending on what our committees look like going forward. Yeah, go ahead, Tisha.
Yeah, so I know we've all talked about this at various points in time, but I really think given the quorum issues we have in the individual subcommittees, that I would like to suggest we move to two subcommittees, eliminating the Housing First subcommittee. One, because Housing First is no longer a priority through the federal administration. But also, I think that one was the toughest one to get quorum for. And then spreading the folks out amongst the two different committees, I think we could get a lot more done. I think in lieu of the third subcommittee, that we could have kind of a rotating ad hoc committee as needed, as issues arise. For example, when Ray Winch was interested in the modular homes or mobile homes.
All right, that sounds good. So the idea of potentially being two subcommittees, no more Housing First. And then, Tisha, like you said, I mean, I don't know if they're technically subcommittees for us, but there is the Housing Trust Fund. I guess it's an ad hoc subcommittee, and then there is the Mobile Home Task Force. So we've got these two other committees. I don't know technically what they would be called, but we've got those as well. So yeah, go ahead, Mindy.
Thank you, Jay. Does this decision need to go through mayor and council for approval?
I have no idea.
Okay.
City staff, do you guys know?
So you as a commission created the subcommittees. They did not get created by mayor and council. So I would therefore say it really is up to you. Your job is to recommend to mayor and council overall advisement recommendations. That can be whatever structure works for you all.
Okay. I mean, the other thing I think if we go down to two, official subcommittees, we will have to be cognizant of hitting quorum for the full commission, right? Because, I don't know if we have all of the positions, all of the commission positions filled, how many total commissioners do we have? I don't know off the top of my head.
I'll
Yeah,
get
go
that.
ahead.
Yeah, I'll get that for you. I don't want to misspeak because with the youth seats, that number changed a little bit.
Oh, it's 13 at least listed on the agenda. I don't know if that's.
I think when you're full, I want to say you're 16, but I want to confirm that.
Yeah, so I mean, conceivably, we could hit quorum in subcommittees if everybody is on a subcommittee. So it's just something we would need to kind of at least be aware of. Yeah, go ahead, Tisha.
Yeah, I think maybe the way around that would be to assign folks to each subcommittee. And then if others want to attend, they can, but they can't vote.
Right.
Or just
But
assign and then, keep everyone else.
But if we assigned everybody, then we would have, if everybody showed up, I think if everybody showed up to their respective subcommittees, if we divided evenly, we would still hit quorum. So, I mean, the idea that everybody would come to a subcommittee meeting, I mean, I mean, it could be an issue, but I guess I would kind of be like, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. But
Yeah, a
um,
little unlikely given the if past is
and
prologue.
then I guess, if there were some folks who felt like they really just didn't have time or maybe interest in one of the subcommittees, I mean, we could just allow some people not to be on subcommittees. That could solve it as well. I don't love that idea, but that's another potential way around it. Um, so I mean, obviously we've kind of flipped the agenda a little bit, which is totally fine by talking about the subcommittees first, because I think that the subcommittees and how those are formed moving forward, may have a decent amount to do with what we, want to work on going forward. So, again, I was thinking, potentially we could do some brainstorming about issues that are on people's radars that, we could tackle and then, work from there, kind of work towards a consensus about what issue or issues we really want to focus on. I guess the other thing, just to kind of start off, is at least for a few months, we could also just invite folks from different organizations, different, whatever, to just talk to the commission about various housing related issues. And we could, then kind of go from there if there's something we want to drill down into. But anyway, why don't I open it up and just do a little brainstorming about some potential ideas? I saw Anne's hand go up, so we'll start with Anne.
Great, thank you. So I really love the idea, and I know you have it on here, and we've talked about it in past meetings about advocacy and communications. I think, it horrifies me. Tisha was talking about the Fed government moving away from housing first, and what we're seeing is increased criminalization. I've talked to people in the community, and it's all drug addicts and who are out there, and I really, really believe it's important that we do more around advocacy, communications, and I think there's a lot of things that we could be involved in. And I would personally, whatever we call it, I would love to see one of the subcommittees being more on community engagement, community education, those kinds of things, because I think that will do more for us to move some policy and things forward. And I love to hear about when Anne was talking about just the reaction from the community. And if you do the right thing and you build the right communications, you get much better outcomes. So personally, I think that is something, and it's something I've done a lot of in the past, so would love to be engaged in that piece.
Thanks, Anne. Go ahead, Robert.
So this is not necessarily a subcommittee created for this, but being new to the conversation, and I'm wondering if in the past there's been a discussion around older adults and what's happening around housing. And based on what I know, there's a group of about 30,000 older adults who already are in big trouble, and like the margin is so narrow, and there's like a huge risk for losing their homes for a group of about 30,000. And so maybe some discussions around what's happening with older adults in the city and county. And so not necessarily a subcommittee, but just maybe one of those items for discussion.
Yeah, I mean, that really has not been on our radar in a major way, I don't think, for a while. So certainly, kind of a new area for us to cover. So that, that could work for sure. Other ideas? Yeah, go ahead.
If I can,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, Alan.
Okay. I'm just sort of what Robert was saying, there's a population out there that nobody's paying attention to. He didn't say it that way, but that's kind of what he meant, I think, if I put words in his mouth. Same thing with disabled people. I don't know any numbers. I can't quote them, but they just their issues are really serious and difficult, and overlap with the older population too, because many people that are older are disabled as well. So, and I don't know what we can do for them. Anne's idea of advocating would be certainly a step, but so just sort of brainstorming. That's what I think is. I think the disability issues are many times just not really considered.
Thanks, Alan. Go ahead, Mindy.
Thank you. Sometimes, for me, the core issue of the number of individuals who are unhoused and unsheltered are primarily individuals who have been disenrolled from state-funded recovery supports and programs. That individuals with serious mental illness definitely are a high number of that demographic. The addiction issue, people then who are maybe not addicted do become addicted to substances because they're homeless, and what else do you do to tolerate that? So I think my point is, my cat would stop it. It used to be the state's responsibility, and there were laws regarding the responsibility of the state to provide services for our vulnerable adults to be housed and provided supports for recovery. Access, Altex was robust. The behavioral health homes were robust in providing the services for our vulnerable adults with serious mental illnesses and severe substance use disorders. So sometimes this conversation to me feels like Band-Aids, that there's a bigger core issue of how nationally programs to support the have been defunded. And if we went back to refund, many people could recover to the point where they go back to work and start paying taxes themselves and contributing, not just contributing money, but contributing all the skills and abilities that they inherently have. Oh, I don't know how that would tie into the commission, but I would be very comfortable if we had a stance of confronting the state or at a national level to fund properly the systems that have created our homelessness issue.
So, Mindy, if I hear you correctly, what I think you're saying is focus on recovery around addiction and kind of the responsibility and lack of services that are available compared to maybe previous times. Does that summarize what you're saying?
Yeah, it's addiction and serious mental illness. It's both.
Got it. Okay.
There's times where I thought I worked on a assertive community treatment team, ACT. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that model of a modality of a team working together, small. People are not cases and they don't need to be managed. A small panel of clients to a clinician, a full-time doc, a nurse and a half for 180 individuals. And we saved so much money after finally getting to the root cause of why people were decompensating, getting sick, going into the hospital. Oh, it's because she was taking the wrong meds or just needed the extra. So there are programs that are highly effective in keeping people safe and on the road to recovery and return to. Maybe the city needs to do a pilot. I am now seeing people whom I used to work with who were well and attending our programs, sleeping in the sidewalks and covered with blankets and filth. There's no, I'm going to get on my soapbox, that there's little, what excuse do we have as a society to allow our vulnerable citizens and to stay unsheltered and uncared for? And speeding up a process of finding shelter for me is a priority, because you cannot recover when you're living in the streets.
Got it. Yeah, understood. Thank you, Mindy.
I guess my big ask is that we not as we move into what we do as a commission in the future, not take our eyes off of that core issue of some services for a few, a broader, bigger view of not tolerating anyone unless they choose. It's big, it's complicated. I think all of you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Mindy. Go ahead, Maggie.
Yes, I agree with Mindy. I also feel that, like with what Anne said, advocacy and education, demystifying a lot of myths about who we're seeing on the streets. I think that's kind of goes hand in hand, including, the issues for older adults and the disabled and what have you. What I wanted to add also is, we talk a lot about rental eviction, but what we're seeing in our office is a lot of mortgage default right now. I have a huge concern that I don't know. It's a little scary that we're seeing so many mortgage default, and even though we right now have a very affordable house on the market, and this is what I've seen for the last year or so, is obviously less of a demand for home ownership, even though our houses are the most affordable house in town. I think part of the advocacy and education is really trying to figure out what is going on in the market, that also educating that whole advocacy and education about home ownership as an opportunity for creating stability and wealth and all of the good things that homeownership does. So both sides of the homeownership coin, homeownership mortgage default. I think we need to, I don't want to, I always harken back to the crisis of 2008. We were, as a housing counseling agencies, were really caught unprepared for whatever reasons, the whole banking industry, everybody. And I'm just wondering if we're going towards something like that again.
Got it. Thanks, Maggie.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Anne.
Thanks. One of the things, and I think you had mentioned it, Jay, earlier, in that is bringing in people. I would love to have the opportunity to hear from people at the commission. I know I've been on a commission in the past, and we would always bring in a speaker. And one of the things that I've really seen since I've been in Tucson is there's a lot of great work going on, but as is pretty typical, we don't always collaborate, not because of anything negative, but just because of time and effort, and it takes resources. So for example, we're talking about different population groups like seniors. I'm thinking youth is really about prevention of homelessness. The other issue is domestic violence, which is a major driver for a lot of, especially women, not just women, but especially women into housing and into homelessness. It would be really interesting to hear from some related nonprofits, organizations who are working, say, with seniors, maybe not around housing or housing insecurity and homelessness, but I think there's a great opportunity to hear from and opportunities to share information. I know working in the housing homelessness field, we saw more and more seniors, and yet my staff wasn't necessarily trained in issues around geriatrics. And so to partner with some senior agencies where we could provide support and help to one another. So I think it would be really great to maybe get into a habit of having short presentations from different groups around some of these issues. I would love to hear some of the things that are going on, but also, are there places we can catalyze some partnerships or sharing of knowledge or information? So I would love to think about that, especially around different population groups, with Star Homes being for women. Women's homelessness has been traditionally ignored, and women have been. I had people from HUD say, "Oh, women are no different than men." Um, yeah, and so I think that would be really great. I also have a question around the advocacy piece, and again, it was Mindy, you're talking about that and the funding. Is that something we can do as a commission? So can we advocate to the state, to our state representatives, or even to the feds, which probably wouldn't go very far now, but never say never, I guess. So I'm just curious about that because advocacy is such an important piece, but I don't know if there are rules around that with the commission.
That's a great question. Again, I would turn to city staff for an answer to, how we can advocate and to whom we can advocate.
I'll jump in. I think based on your ordinance that created you, you are an advisory recommendation group to mayor and council. And so I think you can provide recommendations and advocate to mayor and council. They do take policy positions and have lobbyists both at the state level and federal level. So I think that is your charge. Outside of that, I do think being a group of experts who have knowledge and experience in these conditions gives you some credibility, but your charge is to recommend and advise mayor and council.
Okay. Tisha?
Yeah, and I think just to that point, I was just going to try to encourage us to put parameters about the education and advocacy piece because we are just charged with advising mayor and council. And then I would, so that's like to whom, but on the what, I think we can use the parameters as set forth by point in time count, by zero, by all of the data that we have out there, where we know in our region, specifically in Tucson, since we are a Tucson commission, what subgroups are showing elevated numbers in being unhoused. And we know that it's our seniors, we know that it's our youth. And there are subpopulations doing better than other populations. But, if we just keep that data as a framework on the what, and educating us on that for the purpose of advising mayor and council, I just kind of want to keep our eyes on the prize because I too believe that education is such a critical important for us to do our job, but our job is ultimately to advise mayor and council.
Thanks, Tisha. Other thoughts? Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, this just popped in my head and while we were all talking about and chatting about everything. So we were talking about general communication, just in general, but I'd like to strongly suggest and ask that we take into consideration conversations. I mean, we're talking about education, advocacy, etc. But and I believe we all already know this, but just when we have those long, in-depth conversations with the general public constituents, it takes a while. Even if at the end of the 2-hour conversation they don't agree with us, they've got that new information that they wouldn't have thought about or didn't think about. And I've just had some of those conversations where they go, well, here's how you fix it, and here's what you should do, and then we go, in the back of our minds, we're already going, okay, there's a lot of stuff you don't know. If we could have like some of those conversations maybe in the future. It's my suggestion. And may I offer Mike and Mindy's coffee house that will open soon at Stone and Speedway near, and Chineka's not aware of it yet. We'll tell you more about it later.
Breaking news from Mike Edmonds. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that piece about conversations. Anyone else? I'm just sitting here thinking. I've been trying to take some notes on what we've been talking about. And I think what I'm hearing mostly is advocacy and communications. And then it's really about vulnerable populations, right? We've talked about older adults, people in recovery, persons with disabilities, for domestic violence. There are a lot of different vulnerable populations. Interestingly, this goes back to really, I think, what we were working on last year, which is, that step right above homelessness, right? These are populations that, something goes wrong, the resilience is not there, and folks can, end up on the streets pretty quickly. So that's kind of just how I would summarize kind of what that conversation is about. And then the thing that Maggie brought up, I think is important, and the part that I think I would like to expand on, because I definitely agree with the advocacy and communication part, but I do also want us to continue to focus on the mechanics of housing. I think there's a lot there. I mean, one of the things that I just have always felt like we miss. I mean, and I'm firmly in this camp, but I mean, most of us are nonprofit adjacent. I mean, is everybody in this group like basically nonprofit folks? I mean, that's great. We bring a lot to the table that needs to be heard, but I really do feel like the voice that is missing from our conversation is the development community, people that are building homes and really trying to create housing stock, and the fact that we don't hear more from them about what the barriers are that they're facing. I think that could be really informative and insightful. And, talking about collaboration and advocacy, I think we could potentially build a bridge between that community and, the communities that we serve. So that's definitely something that is interesting to me. I mean, we've talked a lot about zoning. We had a really interesting presentation from the U of A about, how the zoning on really prevents much of any multifamily housing from being built. I mean, just that alone, the fact that, there's basically nowhere to build multifamily housing is a huge problem. Maggie, obviously you brought up home ownership, mortgage defaults, like all of that stuff. I think there's a lot of more room for like community land trusts. I know that, the city is still talking about repositioning single family housing stock that's public housing. We've passed a lot of laws recently from the state level that, are really trying to uh, make it easier to build the missing middle housing. So I'm really interested in how that rolls out. I mean, there's still opposition, I think, from, frankly, what I would consider the usual suspects that are, not wanting housing to get built. Frankly, homeowners that are, middle class or higher. So, I think there's a lot there. I don't know the best way to describe it. I just keep thinking about like the mechanics of housing and home building and supply and that part. So I don't want to lose sight of that. So I don't know if maybe we can have, again, I'm just thinking out loud here, but maybe one of the subcommittees is, education and advocacy, particularly around vulnerable communities, and then the other one is, it's kind of like the affordable housing subcommittee reconfigured, maybe more about, again, I just keep saying housing mechanics. I don't know if that's a great way to put it, but that's kind of what I'm hearing. And then I guess what I would put on the table as well. So I don't know if folks are hearing something else or if that sparks some other ideas or what. Yeah, go ahead, Anne.
Um, yeah, I think that's a really important. That's the solution. Um, and I think there would be some really, as you were talking, I was thinking there would be some great crossover between an education advocacy and a development committee, whatever you call it. Because I would love to see the committees actually, maybe work in separate things, but actually, how do they come together? So we're presenting a united front. The other thing, and I also, mentioning before having speakers come in, I would love to hear about some things that are happening in other places. And that's not to say that I don't think the city and county here in Tucson have done some amazing work, and kudos to them. But I also think there's opportunity to hear from other communities around this issue, and there's some really innovative stuff happening around the country. So I think if we had a development committee, it's not only like what are developers here in Tucson doing, but what's happening in other places. And that also leads into more advocacy, right? If you can, get a broader thing. So I love that idea. And I do think that housing development, I know I've heard it before, but one of the big issues that a lot of communities are doing is working with faith groups around development of housing. And I know there's stuff being done here as well. But I think that's another area that would be really brilliant to see if we could investigate more how we can bring on faith groups, because a lot of them have land, a lot of them have buildings. And there's been some great work done around the country around with faith groups. So just another piece to throw in.
Yeah, and just to build on that, I was just reading today about, California over the past, decade has really passed a lot of laws getting at a lot of this stuff, and it's not moved the needle versus other places that have passed similar legislation, whether at the local level, but why has it moved the needle in some places and not others? So I think there's a lot to dig in there.
If I can just throw in something on that, I think what people don't realize about California, because everybody goes, oh, all this money going in, it's not happening. In Los Angeles, they permanently housed 85,000 people in 3 years. The problem was the inflow. But of course, communities don't see that. So I think even California has some really great learnings around this because they did incredibly house a lot of people in a short period of time. It's just, again, they can't keep up with the cost of living, et cetera. So just as a former Californian, I just want to defend them a little bit.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lori.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that as we're talking about all this stuff, I want to make sure that we keep in mind that we have TPCH at the table and they're doing a lot of this work, and I wouldn't want us to duplicate it as a commission. So I just want to make sure that we're keeping them in the loop because I know that part of TPCH's work is to find out what other folks are doing in other communities. I think that's partly where Star Village came from. And so I just want to point that out that we're bringing up a lot of suggestions that I think happen at TPCH as well, because I go to those meetings. And so I just want to be sure that we aren't duplicating stuff because those conversations are happening. Maybe not at this table, but they are happening.
Yeah, that's a great point, Lori. And I think I don't think you're saying this exactly, but what it makes me think is, part of what we need to think about is, where can we add the most value as a commission without, duplicating and stepping on toes when, people are already doing the work. Go ahead, Tisha.
Yeah, I first would like to suggest that we keep some of this conversation in mind for the next people coming on, or, if we're soliciting folks to do applications to come on and fill these seats on the commission, I think we should consider faith-based. I think we should consider more developers. So those voices are at the table that can inform us. As opposed to just utilizing folks for experts, but as a regular part of the conversation, I think would be fantastic. The other thing is I do want to shout out to mayor and council, because we're looking at a micro home project and because we are doing STAR currently, we've been working with CAPLA at the University of Arizona, and they've done a lot of research on what's going on across the country, and Tucson really is at the forefront, and HCD, mayor and council have to be celebrated for that because there are very few jurisdictions who've declared an emergency and then have followed it up with specific regulations that are going to follow for both temporary use permits and also permanent changes to zoning and code. And that is enormous. That's huge. I mean, we are way on the cutting edge. And I think that we would be remiss without acknowledging that the city is doing that. To the point of all these other, what Lori just said, I second, not only with TPCH, but with other things going on. And we all have intersections on those specific boards and commissions and councils. And, the commission as individuals brings so much to the table. And I think it is just a matter of maybe we feel more open to provide that information to yourself, Jay, to disseminate, or to HCD to disseminate. But I do think that there's a lot of education that can happen outside of our regular meetings just by providing reports, providing, meeting notes, whatever that might be. But yes, no, I totally agree. There's so much to be gained from the experts sitting on this commission too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Tishan. Before I go to you, Robert, one of the things that, I want to throw out there about, advocacy and communication. I mean, I don't know if this has been others' experience, but, my 12 or so years as executive director, I mean, one of the things that I think has honestly been one of the most difficult things for my agency to do is figure out how to actually develop and execute a quality communication strategy. So, one of the things that I'm just thinking about is I don't have any doubt that, when we sit down together, we'll be able to come up with a lot of things that we want to advocate for and probably a lot of good messages. But I just wonder, you know, once we get that far, how are we going to be getting these messages out? Because, it's not like we've got a communications department ready to, get this stuff out. So I think Anne is raising her hand to say that she's going to allow us to use her comms team to get, go ahead, Anne.
I don't currently have I have a very small comms group right now, so that is a challenge for us too. But one thing I did want to make sure you are aware of, we are finally at a point where we can start launching and spending our pro housing money. And there is some money in there for an affordable housing campaign. I think in terms of communications and getting out information, that is one piece of a bigger puzzle. But I do think, and I will say, I do see a place for the commission really helping with messaging and communication and supporting both from a affordable housing piece and a homelessness piece. I think given your expertise, there is value to that, and we'll be here to try to help. And I think you can really help us, given there is funding dedicated in this grant for an affordable housing campaign.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, that just to me sounds like, how can we plug into kind of existing infrastructure for communications? Because, we're not going to be able, I mean, maybe we will, but I would imagine it would be very challenging to create our own infrastructure for communication. With that, I think, Robert, you were next.
So I was just wondering, in the spirit of the name of the commission and sort of the equitable piece, I've been in a couple of commissions before where there were incredible ideas that came up, and it was kind of the group of experts that were representing nonprofits and others, and seldom was there a space for those most closely impacted to sit at the table. And so I'm wondering, as we think about this, if there are seats that at the commission that would be for folks who, with some sort of lived experience around these issues, or others who are doing work at the neighborhood level, not knowing the history of the commission. I'm just putting that out there as a question.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another gap that you identified, Robert, kind of like, the developer builder community. We certainly don't have a lot of experience, I think, having folks on the commission who have a lot of lived experience, nor input really from folks that have lived experience. And to me, it seems like, the more that we can tap into that, whether it's with, you know, having new commissioners fill that role or, have folks come talk to the commission, um, to get a better idea of that. Because I mean, to me, it seems like some of the best messaging might actually come from people directly, right? We just kind of channel what folks have to say. So yeah, I really like that idea. It's a great point. Anybody else? Do we have a direction or directions? I mean, to me, it kind of sounds like we do. Um, and again, to me, it sounds like communication and advocacy really focusing on vulnerable populations or something to that effect. And then, the housing mechanics, how, sorry, how housing gets built, supply, what's going on in the marketplace, that kind of thing. So to me, that sounds kind of like the two broad umbrellas that we're working with. Go ahead, Tisha.
Yeah, I was wondering, should we take a vote on the subcommittees? I just know that we keep putting a lot of work on Neto to set up meetings, cancel meetings, that type of thing. So if the commission feels it's appropriate, take a vote at the time on the number of subcommittees, I think that would be in order.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. Let's kind of wrap the brainstorming up, and then I think we can kind of move to the subcommittee piece. Go ahead, Alan.
So thanks. My earlier somebody said we need two more members for the commission, and I thought, okay, who do I know? And nobody came to mind. But then Robert said, somebody that has lived experience would be a useful addition, and somebody did come to mind. So somebody I met, I don't know at all. I've just met. I've participated twice in the city program that I'm sure Ann knows about, the Hope in the Park, and somebody that is connected to that. So I'm thinking, and if I understand correctly, he was formerly homeless, and he seems bright and eager. So I have no idea of his background, his capabilities, his interest in it. But I'm just mentioning I might contact him and see what he thinks.
That sounds good. I mean, the other thing about, really tapping into folks who have lived experience, if we want them to address the commission, not just necessarily be on the commission. I mean, this is a pretty intimidating forum. I mean, to have them come to these meetings. So, I think it might be worthwhile to think also like what would be a more welcoming way to have people be able to address and give input to whether it be subcommittees or the commission as a whole. I mean, it's like a lot of us, I think, are somewhat comfortable in this format, but I know a lot of people aren't. So, Mindy,
I think Tisha had her hand up first.
you go ahead and then we'll get to Tisha.
Now I forgot what I was going to say. We have a person that has the development builder experience on the commission, Jim Toffel, who has successfully built numbers of affordable housing, multifamily housing. So I think we have him as some expertise there. The individual with lived experience on the commission is a imperatively good idea, though we do have someone who attends our meetings regularly who does have lived experience as well. But I think, and to go back quickly to one of your asks of presentations and education, if you can, for the most of last year, we had presenters nearly every commission meeting. All of those are recorded and available online. Just saying that there's that some of us that have been on the commission for a while we're feeling a little bit presented out.
Yeah, we told them to get lost, basically. We were like, thanks, we got other stuff we want to do. So I feel like they've been scared away because it's like we haven't had a president it's been a while. So it is true.
I know a few people who have wonderful stories of resiliency, and I will contact to see if any of them would be willing to be a guest, to talk about coming from homelessness then back into being employed full time and becoming themselves outside of their illness again. So if that's the will of the commission, I can see if any of them would be willing to be a guest presenter.
I mean, I think that sounds like a great idea, Mindy. The only thing I would say is, maybe we want to think about, like Tisha was saying, vote on the subcommittees and start running that stuff through the subcommittees. So we can kind of get a list of folks. And then, my question to Anne or to HCD staff is the open positions, what are the requirements? I know that there are different parameters for some of the positions, so.
Yeah, a couple things. So the two vacant positions, one is a mayor and council seat. That was the one that Ray stepped down from. So the only real requirement is that mayor and council approve the person. So there is a process for that. And I will say, to Robert's point, I do think originally there was more neighborhood advocates and more representation in terms of folks with lived experience, and that has shifted over time. I think it's really hard to keep folks engaged. I did explore whether we could offer stipends. Currently, that is not allowed via our city charter. We do have a new clerk, so maybe that might change. And one thing, though, that Kat had pointed out is in terms of homelessness, TPCH does have a lived experience council. And if there are specific things we would want to engage them on, there could be an opportunity there. They do get paid for their time. So one thing to think about there. The second vacant position is for a nonprofit or for-profit affordable housing developer. It's not specified whether that is small scale or larger scale. It's just someone who brings, or home ownership or rental. It's somebody who brings affordable housing units into the world.
What role does Jim fill then?
He is mayor and council appointed.
Okay.
It was Marianne Bierling had been serving that role.
Right. Tisha, I think you were up.
Yeah, I think it's basically been covered, but I just wanted to speak to some of what Anne said, that we really need to not only consider access, but infrastructure, and just revisiting that.
Right. Maybe this is a good point to discuss in a little bit more detail the future status of the subcommittees, which is the next item on the agenda. What it sounds like where it sounds like we are is that we want to go down to two subcommittees, and that if I'm understanding correctly, it sounds like one of the subcommittees is advocacy and communication or something to that effect, and the other one is development or housing. I'm not exactly sure. Somebody maybe could come up with a better title for that subcommittee, but does that seem to be where we are? I see lots of nods. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I think the agenda, is there not a third subcommittee, the mobile modular?
Yeah, so I mean that's a good question that I'm not exactly sure. Go ahead, Ann.
And I think that you had brought up earlier that if we only had two subcommittees and everyone, if we divide it up, that's that quorum issue. So this might leave some room or grace for people who don't want to be on a subcommittee.
Right.
And they kind of share that, if that's their interest or not, or we'll have to get creative, like first come, first serve. If you show up for a meeting that's over the quorum, then you're not there. So
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just kind of like, if it really gets to be a problem where the subcommittees are, getting 7 people every time and it's an issue, then we need to address it, but I don't feel like it's going to be a problem. I think to me, it's just like something we need to be aware of and maybe deal with if that issue comes up. Maybe others feel differently, but that's at least at this point how I would think about it. But I'm certainly open. Go ahead, Alan.
I'm a little confused, and my confusion is that we already have subcommittees, and the two you just described, more or less, don't have anything to do with those. So are we removing all of the existing subcommittees and establishing new ones? Is that what we're doing?
I think that that would be the idea, yes. And then to your point, which I think Anne is probably going to speak to, is we've got three, I guess, formal subcommittees, right? One is affordable housing, there's housing first, and then equitable housing solutions. I think those are our current three. And then there's an ad hoc subcommittee of the Housing Trust Fund. So I guess technically that's a fourth subcommittee. And then there's the Mobile Home Task Force, which I guess technically is not a committee. So I guess I don't know exactly what the formal structure is here. So I think that's probably what you were going to talk about, Ann.
Is exactly. Well, one, I'm looking at your bylaws right now just to make sure and see what you all said you wanted to do and adopted before. And good news is you talk about subcommittees may be created or removed as needed by motion of the Commission on Equitable Housing and Development. So to me, that is really within your purview. There, as you said, based on motions that had been approved by the commission previously, there are those three formal subcommittees that you just indicated. You did talk about as needed, the Housing Trust Fund one. And so I wouldn't be too concerned about that one. If there are times and when there are teams as needed, we'll try to convene that group. And then the mobile task force, you all never made a motion that it's part of your group. They meet, I do appreciate the importance of it, and they have been reporting back, which I think is really important. But I wouldn't consider it a formal subcommittee to this group.
Okay, so based on that, it sounds like what we are moving towards is disbanding, discontinuing, whatever you want to say, the current three subcommittees, and then we would be forming two subcommittees, one focusing on advocacy and communication, and then the second one would be focused on, somebody please help me come up with a good title for that subcommittee because I'm not really getting there. But does that sound like what we want to do? Okay, go ahead, Mindy.
I would like to put forth a motion to disband the Housing First Subcommittee and have members of that committee join other subcommittees if that's their wish.
I would like to make a friendly addition to your motion, which would be to disband the other two subcommittees as well, if you would be so amenable.
Yes.
Great. So we've got a motion to disband the three current subcommittees, which would be Housing First, Equitable Housing Solutions, and Affordable Housing.
I second.
All right, we have a motion to disband the three current subcommittees, and we have a second. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Are there any abstentions? Okay, it looks like the motion carries unanimously. Thanks, everybody. And then I would entertain a motion to create two new subcommittees based on our conversation today.
I would have a question if this is appropriate now.
Sure.
I'm more or less clear on the first one, just by the way we described it, but the second one I really don't have any idea what it's going to do. Whether or not it has a name even is a different thing.
Good question. Thoughts, anyone?
I think that that's part of the process of what we're discussing right now is what are the new subcommittees going to be? What's our focus?
So to your point, Alan, I think that the second subcommittee is really focusing on housing market conditions and development. At least that's part of it, because what we have talked about, what kind of came up in our discussion is um, a place to have a discussion and to think about issues like zoning, home ownership, mortgage lending, mortgage defaults, land trusts, developers, missing middle housing, things of that nature. So kind of a subcommittee to be able to, essentially discuss the housing market and I would say maybe how to improve it and identify barriers, things of that nature. Any other thoughts about that?
That sounds interesting, and I can see it as being a useful thing.
And I think 2J1, that could be the loose parameters. And when that group meets, they can sort of define more how they would advertise their group.
I love it. I'm all about delegation, so we can delegate that to the subcommittee and whoever's on that subcommittee. So I guess I would entertain a motion to create. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Maggie.
I got on my phone and I just Googled and I put down what you said, Housing Market Conditions and Development Committee. And what does it pull up? Us. It pulls up.
That's pretty good.
We're on the right track.
That's hilarious. Anne?
Oh, I was just thinking about the communications committee, and I was doing the same. I was kind of Googling, and I was wondering about a public affairs committee because public affairs includes advocacy, government relations, community engagement. It's sort of a all-encompassing, and the same thing, the committee itself could determine its parameters. But public affairs is a bit of a catch-all, and then you avoid that advocacy word, which can
Right.
frighten some people.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, so what was our first, we passed a motion regarding the first subcommittee, correct? Or did we not do that?
I don't think so. I think we
Okay, we
just
did.
got rid of the others.
Got it. And I
I
guess we
think
were a little more
you made
clear
a
about the first
motion
one.
and then I asked a question and motion hasn't been seconded.
I don't know that I've even made a motion.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so maybe we could have a motion of something like um, to create two new subcommittees, the first one dealing with public affairs, advocacy, communications, and the second one dealing with development, housing market conditions, et cetera, and that the two subcommittees will meet and determine what their names are and maybe a little bit more clarity around what exactly it is their focus is going to be. Does that sound reasonable? Somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
So moved. So the motion would be, if I understand correctly, it would be the commission moves to create two new subcommittees, one focusing on advocacy, communications, public affairs, and the second one focusing on development, housing market conditions, and things of that nature. And also as part of the motion, that the two committees will meet, determine their names and their more specificity around their areas of focus. That is the motion as I understand it. Do I have a second?
I can second, Anne.
Thank you, Anne. All those in favor, please say
Can I
aye.
ask a question before we vote?
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
As far as how frequently the committees would meet, is that something they would set, or does our commission decide that?
Good question. I don't know. I mean, I guess the subcommittees have been meeting once a month, right? Um, between our regular commission meetings. So, I guess we could theoretically add that to the motion, or, I guess the subcommittees could also potentially determine that when they meet. I don't know. Do y'all want to add it to go ahead, Ann.
I was going to say, what if you said a minimum, like the committees will meet a minimum of once a month, and then the committee itself can determine. I mean, if there's some big thing happening, they may want to have more meetings, but you could just do a minimum once a month and then let the committee decide if they want to do more.
Does that sound good to everybody? Because if so, you could uh, add to the motion, make a friendly amendment. I think what I always hear people say. Yeah, go ahead, Mindy.
Thank you. Bef when people have with Robert's rules, I forgot if I have to wait until the motion is seconded if I have a comment about it, or do I just blurt it out now?
I don't know. I thought we were using Jay's rules of order, so I'm not exactly sure what the I'm not sure. I think you can. I think you can comment now before
Okay,
we
thank you.
vote. Right?
I I want to be careful not to be replicating what other agencies are doing in the community and at least have their buy-in of if that's part of their mission, like communication and advocacy. But also I am not seeing on either one of the subcommittees a focus on homelessness. And I really don't want this commission to let go of that issue.
Yeah, no, I understand. I guess my initial reaction to that is that I think the idea of not overlapping and also, not dropping homelessness, I would just assume that that would be something that, each subcommittee could take up as they talk about kind of what they want to do moving forward. I mean, we could certainly add it to this motion, but to me, again, this is just my opinion. To me, it seems like the thing to do is to have the motion as we have it, which is to create the two new subcommittees with the general ideas that we've stated. And then I do think it's maybe not a bad idea to have an amendment to the motion, which is to have them meet at least once a month. And then I would say leave the things that you just mentioned, Mindy, as part of what the subcommittees need to undertake when they meet. So maybe that could also be an amendment that, to make sure that the subcommittees discuss not overlapping, whatever that looks like, and then what was the other thing you said? Oh, and then not dropping homelessness. So we have a motion that's pretty general. I guess the point now would be what do we want to add to what friendly amendments do we want to add to that before we take a vote? Is that kind of hopefully I'm following Robert's rules pretty well.
Jay's rules. Cookies, we have to have cookies.
I like that. Could somebody give us a hand with, can we amend now and then vote, or kind of what, if anything, we need to do that we're not doing with our process?
I think we're on track. Somebody needs to make a motion to approve with the friendly addendums.
Okay, does somebody want to make some friendly amendments to our motion?
Yeah. I think we just did that. We include homelessness and not overlapping with what other agencies, like being mindful about not overlapping.
Okay, so what I hear as friendly amendments is to not overlap with other things that are occurring in the community, something to that effect, and then not overlapping and not and continuing to address homelessness. And then the other thing that I heard is that would be part of the amendment is that each committee meet at least once per month. And
I'm I'm struggling with the not overlapping because I don't know what that means. And I think that could get us into some, obviously, I would almost put it in a more positive way to ensure that we collaborate or work to, because I don't know what overlapping means. Because the more that we do certain things, the better if we're coming at it from different perspectives. But what we don't want to do is conflict with. So
Right.
to me, that's that one is the one that I would not include just because I think it's too broad and we don't know kind of what that means at this point. But I think to take that to the committee for discussion to say we want to make sure that we're not duplicating or we're not going against what other organizations are doing, maybe at the committee level.
Yeah, I like that idea because I mean, clearly there needs to be just some discussion about what that looks like, and this isn't really the right part of the process, I think, to do that. So I agree with that, and I would actually also take out the homelessness piece. I mean, I just feel like that's also something that the subcommittee should probably actually discuss in the subcommittee once it meets. And I mean, just the idea that if we're going to be communicating about and advocating for vulnerable communities, to me it seems like the not dropping homelessness piece is basically part of that. But again, I think that that's something that the commission agrees on, and I think it can be taken up in the subcommittee. So maybe what my suggestion would be is just that the friendly amendment just include um, meeting at least once a month, and that the rest of it can kind of be left because obviously we know that we want to do that. So maybe we just make yeah, go ahead, Ann.
I'm sorry, I feel like
No,
I'm
no.
monopolizing, but you're making me think. What if we were to set something that the committees will go away, figure this out, and bring it back to this commission for blessing or approval, so that we're all on the same page, but have the committees kind of work through and discuss these things, and then come back to the full group for agreement? Does that work?
Yeah, so the amendment could be the subcommittees at their first meeting will discuss the direction and topics to be covered by that subcommittee and come back to the full commission, report out, and then the full commission can vote or something to that effect on if that works for the commission. And that each subcommittee will meet at least once a month. Is that your motion, Ann? Okay.
Sorry, I muted myself. Yes, I think so. Because to Mindy's point, I think there's some important things that we want to make sure, but I think fleshing it out at the committee level would be a great idea.
Okay. So what I hear is that the friendly amendment at this point is that the subcommittees at their first meeting will discuss the direction of the subcommittee and the topics that they want to cover. And once they have an idea of that, at the next full commission meeting, they will bring that back to the full commission for review and discussion and a vote on enshrining that as to what the subcommittees are going to be focusing on, and that each subcommittee will meet at least once a month. That is the amendment on the table. Does somebody need to second that amendment, or is that just the amendment gets accepted and then we vote? Whoever made does somebody recall who made who made the original motion to form two new subcommittees? Because whoever did that would, I think, need to accept the friendly amendment that Anne has made.
That's me. That's Tisha. I accept.
Okay, great. So we've got a motion, we've got a second, we've got a friendly amendment. As far as I understand, at this point, I think we're ready to vote on it unless there's further discussion. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? All right, hearing none, the motion passes. So we have two new subcommittees. And I guess the only thing that we would need to do now is to figure out when those subcommittees are going to meet. We do have some dates on the calendar already for the old subcommittees that we could theoretically use. I'm not sure. I could definitely use some help with the logistics of what we do now to so that the subcommittees actually have a date and a time to meet. Go ahead, Lori.
Could we just put out a doodle poll? Because I think if we try to do that now, after that vote that we just did, that confused the heck out of me. If we try to come up with a date, I think it's a little chaotic, and a doodle poll feels a little less chaotic to me.
Well, that, and then we also have not figured out who's going to be on each subcommittee. So I don't know, if the subcommittees get together, maybe they don't need to vote necessarily, but they need to just come together with, what they want to bring to the full commission. And we can vote then as a full commission on what each subcommittee is going to do, and then maybe decide who's going to be on them. I'm not sure. Again, I could use a little help here from HCD staff in terms of kind of what we need to do to get people on each subcommittee and then set a date and a time at the very least for the first meeting of the two new subcommittees.
Jay, if I can just jump in, we of course have to notify absent commissioners of today's action and just give a synopsis as to what what the intentions are to create two new committees. I can create a doodle poll, but I'm not clear, Lori, what the doodle poll would ask. Would it ask for one meeting or two meetings?
Well, I'm not clear on that either, but I
Okay.
just didn't. I guess my biggest concern was I didn't want us to try to hash it out right here, right now.
Yeah.
Right, and you can't probably do that. Jay's suggestion was to maybe talk about it in the upcoming subcommittees, and Equitable Housing meets on Thursday, the March 19th, Housing First, although they don't no longer exist, right?
Yeah, I think that was kind of
Yeah,
the question
they no
that I
longer
was
exist.
asking is can we potentially use two of those times that are already on the calendar? Or I think to Lori's point, should we just a doodle poll for when are some dates and times for both of the subcommittees to meet, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Could
go ahead.
sorry, Ernesto, did you?
I was going to suggest we could also wait till the next commission meeting to create more discussion on the future of the subcommittees.
What I was wondering, is there a way we could do, not a doodle poll, but just have people write in which committee they're interested in sitting on? And then have someone, whether it's, city staff or someone else sort of volunteer to just organize the first meeting for each separate committee. And then at at that meeting, I guess you'd need to determine like who's chairing it, or I'm not sure, but maybe just start with figuring out um, who wants to sit on what committee. And then at that point, somebody be tasked with saying, okay, whether again, city staff or the person on the committee, getting in touch with everybody and doing the doodle poll at that point and saying, okay, we're meeting on the communications committee, and from there.
And I'm willing to do the work and to contact commissioners and start this, those organizing this.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of hands. I don't, I see Mindy, I think.
Thank you. I would suggest that we keep the dates of the the other two committees, just keep those days and dates the same and change the names or the focus.
But no, but you don't have the committees anymore.
No, that's
Oh,
true.
but we do have the dates on the
Oh
calendar.
yeah, the dates
So-
on calendars, yes.
It's
Yeah,
just
so we could change the equitable housing strategies to the first subcommittee, which is the public affairs, and then the affordable housing to development or whatever that's going to be, and see if that works for enough people to have the first committee meeting. Go ahead, Robert.
Would it be appropriate for some of us to self-select today to just get organized and just prepare something for the rest of the commissioners as they join those meetings?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we could have a temporary chair for the first meeting and, temporary members for the first as well. And at least that would get us uh, those meetings done, and then we could resort if we wanted to after that. So maybe I like that idea. Does that seem like a reasonable idea at this point? We can just go around and see who wants to be on what at this point, and if somebody would volunteer to be the temporary chair for the first meeting of each subcommittee, that would also be wonderful. So why don't we do that if that seems okay with everyone? We could just kind of go around. I can do kind of a roll call and see who wants to be on what, and if somebody wants to be the temporary chair of the subcommittees for the
Jake,
first meeting.
could you remind us of what days what days we're talking about?
So the
Equi
Equitable Housing Strategies is Thursday, March 19th at 1 o'clock, 1 to
Right.
2:30.
Mhm.
And then the Affordable Housing Task Force subcommittee is Tuesday, April 14th from 4 to 6 p.m.
Tuesday. Oh, okay.
So I guess that would then be the one on March 31st would be the public affairs, and the second one, which is April 14th, would be the development subcommittee.
That would be March 19th, Jay, Equitable Housing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at housing
Yeah.
first. Sorry.
Right.
Yep, March 19th. Sorry about that. Okay, so at this point, if it makes sense to everybody, I can just do a roll call and see what subcommittee each person wants to be on. And again, this would just be for the first meeting, and then it would be really great if somebody could volunteer to be the temporary chair for that first meeting as well. So without objection, I'm gonna do that real quick. I'm just gonna go by who I see on my screen. Anne,
I would do like the Public Affairs Communications Committee.
Mindy?
Um, I have scheduling conflicts on both those days, so I can't say what I'm going to do yet.
Um, uh, if you did not have scheduling conflicts, which committee would you prefer to be on, at least for the first meeting?
Whichever one will deal the most with the homelessness issues.
I think public affairs, probably. Robert?
Public affairs.
Alan?
Oops.
You're muted.
Sorry. The one that's not the public affairs one, the other one, the housing development zoning things.
Perfect. Maggie?
Both. I like both of them. But when would the meeting be for the development, the first one? The March 19th?
Public affairs would be March 19th from 1 to 2:30, and then the development subcommittee would be Tuesday, April 14th from 4 to 6.
Okay. I won't be in town, but
Jay, can I jump in with a suggestion?
Sure.
The affordable housing, again, it meets in April 14th after the next commission meeting.
Oh,
Housing First is scheduled for Tuesday, March 31st. Could you just use that date? and
let's
time?
let's do that. And if it turns out that too many people have a conflict with one or both of those dates, then maybe we resort to a doodle poll.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's a good idea. So, all right. So now we're talking about the Public Affairs Subcommittee meeting March 19th from 1 to 2:30,
Correct.
and the Development Subcommittee would be meeting
March 31, 4 to 5:30.
Great. Does that help you out at all, Mindy or Maggie? Probably not for you, Mindy, but since the public affairs didn't change.
I can do the development on the March 31st.
Okay, great. Tisha?
I like to do the development one, but there's currently a timing conflict, but I would like to be on that one.
Okay. And then Lori?
I'd also prefer development, but I can't do that time either. So if we don't end up changing the times, I'll just stick to the other one.
I think at this point, let's get everybody's first choice for the committee, and then I think we can survey folks, and if there not enough people can come to the meeting, then we'll do a doodle poll. So Lori, your first choice would be development.
Yes.
Okay. I think my preference would probably also be development, but I'd be happy to go over to the other one if it would be a better balance. So I don't know that yet because we've still got some commissioners who obviously are not here and haven't had a chance to weigh in. Okay, so I think at the very least, we've got everybody's first choice of subcommittees for the first meeting. Who would like to volunteer to be the chair for at least the first subcommittee meeting of the Public Affairs Subcommittee?
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you, Anne. I really appreciate that. What about for the Development Subcommittee?
I nominate you, Jay.
I was trying to not do it, but that's okay. I'll be happy to do it for the first meeting, but I can do that. Neto, I'm going to get you at another meeting somehow.
I appreciate it. You will. So tomorrow, Monday, I'll send out a message, an email to all commissioners with this breakdown, this synopsis that these two subcommittees have been formed and they will meet initially at this time and ask for volunteers to join the subcommittees.
And then I think the other piece of that puzzle, Neto, is we need to know, obviously, if those dates work for enough people to have the meetings.
Right.
Not everybody needs to be there, but I would say a decent number. I don't know what that is, but maybe you can work with me and Anne in terms of how many people can go to those meeting times, and we can decide if we need to reschedule based on people's availability.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, Anne.
Just a quick question. The meeting, so it's scheduled for the 19th. Is that a Zoom meeting or was it scheduled to be in person? A Zoom. It is a Zoom. Okay.
Zoom. All meetings are Zoom.
All Zoom? Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. I think we're done with what we want to work on and the subcommittees. We've got the dates and we're working on the logistics. I think we basically got that worked out. We might need to tweak a couple of things here and there, but I think we're done, and I think we can move on to the next couple of agenda items. And I mean, if we're not good, I mean, it is 5:50 and we're right where we're supposed to be on the agenda. So good job, y'all. Thanks for a great discussion and really thoughtful about kind of where we need to go as a group. These can be hard sometimes, but that felt pretty good. So really appreciate the participation and willingness to change and to do what we need to do. So with that, I will move on to the next agenda item, which is Fair Housing Month, and maybe I should start there since that's what I do for a living. So April is Fair Housing Month, and really appreciate having this on the agenda. What I will say is just as April comes around and you're thinking about fair housing, as many other areas have experienced, the current administration has made it very hard to do our work. We have been seriously challenged with funding. Our agency has been without federal funding now for 9 months. We've had a gap. There are a number of other agencies throughout the country in similar situations or that are about to be in similar situations. And there has been reporting in the New York Times and other places about HUD's basically deciding not to enforce the Fair Housing Act and to try and undermine fair housing. So, civil rights are certainly under attack, and I think this Fair Housing Month is a really important one, considering all of the adversity that the movement is facing. So. Keep that in mind. I know that we have a couple of things coming up. Neto and I are working on a couple things. There is Fair Housing Month proclamations from both the city of Tucson and Pima County, recognizing Fair Housing Month as recognizing April as Fair Housing Month. Neto, is there anything you want to add?
Just to invite commissioners to attend the city council meeting on April 7th, Jay and a few other members of the community will receive the proclamation from the mayor. But please attend the meeting. If the full commission goes, we can't have everyone there because we'll violate certain meeting rules, but as many as you can. We will do some social media campaign and we'll share that with you. And this is where individual commissioners come in. We're talking about advocacy. You as individual members of the community can advocate on your own or for your specific networks for fair housing. As Jay noted, it's a very, very difficult time, not just for fair housing, but for housing in general in this country. But again, just keep a lookout for the social media messages and come to the April 7th evening session, City Council.
Go ahead, Alan.
So that meeting is in person, I take it, Neto,
Yeah.
is that right?
Well, it is in person, but it's also broadcast on the city channel.
I see. But you wouldn't be able to speak if you were doing it remotely.
Correct. As far as I know,
Yeah.
people are not allowed to speak.
Alan, if you or any other commissioners want to attend that meeting in person, I would be more than happy to have whoever wants to come up to receive the award come up with me. And if folks wanted to say a few words, I would love that as well. I will certainly be there, and if others want to come and join me, shoot me an email. And then I would also say, if you want to know more about fair housing or the work that we do at Southwest Fair Housing Council and how we can help serve the people that you serve, give me a call, shoot me an email. I'm always happy to chat more. So
I think I do want to know more about fair housing. I've learned a lot, but I do want to know more.
Alan, we can talk. Give me a call.
What time is the council meeting on the 7th?
5:30, I believe, but I will send out a notice to the
Okay,
commission.
thank you.
But it's 5:30.
Perfect.
Thanks, Ann Shineka. With that, I will move on to our next agenda item, which is next steps. Obviously, I think we all are a little bit talked out about the next steps. I think we have a pretty good idea. We'll get some emails from Neto to tighten things up and make sure that we're coordinating the meetings. The next Pima County Housing Commission meeting is Friday, March 20th at 8:30 a.m. There are a couple of links on the agenda to the Pima County Affordable Housing Commission website and to future and past agendas. And then the next CEHD meeting is Thursday, April 2nd from 4 to 6 p.m., also via Zoom. That is what I have for next steps. I don't know if there is anything else in terms of next steps or anything else, any other business that we need to discuss, because if not, we're about to adjourn like 2 or 3 minutes early. So
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that Thursday the 2nd is the second night of Passover that many Jewish households observe. So just saying.
thank you for bringing that to our attention, Mindy.
Yeah.
Maybe we can maybe we can talk about that before the next meeting, just to make sure that we're on the same page and doing what we need to do in terms of scheduling. Any other business before we adjourn? I heard a pop of a hand go up, but I don't see a hand. Somebody have something to say? Okay. With that, thanks again, everybody, for a great meeting. I'm looking forward to getting down to business again and covering these topics and finding some new directions for us. So with that, I will see y'all at some of the subcommittee meetings, and if not, I'll see y'all at the next commission meeting. Thanks so much, and we are adjourned.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.